So a number of years ago, one of our parishioners, Javier, his mother was coming to her last days. So she actually lived in Nampa, in a nursing home in Nampa, but he asked if I could go anoint her, so sure. I go to this nursing home. She's not in her room, which, of course, drives me up the wall because people should be where where they're assigned to be. So here's the really odd part. So she's not in her room, have to find her. She's in some other room, and she was sitting in a wheelchair talking to this woman. And this is the part that's amazing, because you have to remember, she's coming to her last days. No offense, she's circling the drain. And she's busy kind of taking care of all these other people in the nursing home. And so I do anoint her, but what kind of cracked me up is that she was so, joyful. Like, she was really joyful. And she was kind of busy, kind of taking care of other people in the nursing home. And I kind of thought, really, what a great way to come to your last days. Joyful and worried about other people. I love that image. Or there's another woman, her name is Kathleen, and Kathleen has this expression where she'll honestly say, this is the best time of life. And she said it when she was in her 30s. And then when she was in her 40s, she was saying, this is the best time of life. Then when she was in her 50s and 60s, now she's approaching 70, and she keeps saying, in all honesty, she'll say, this is the best time of life. And it's not that she doesn't have problems. There's just, the older you get, the more problems you get. But I love the fact that she keeps saying, in honesty, this is the best time of life. That even as the circumstances are piling up, you're more joyful than ever. Javier's mother, really, the circumstances were bad. She was poor, and literally her health was fading, and yet incandescent with joy. Kathleen, more and more, she's just joyful. And I mention that because obviously the theme on Gaudete Sunday, this is Gaudete Sunday, is joy. And it always strikes me as so odd because it reminds me of that passage in Paul where he says, day by day our outside is wasting away, but we are being renewed inside each day. That's so true. Literally, she was circling the drain. Day by day, the outside is wasting away. And inside, they're getting more and more renewed, more joyful. And so, to me, with people, you have to kind of ask, what is your source of joy? Because a lot of people think, well, are our best days behind us? I got a friend of mine, his wife says this, and it's very irritating. She says, wouldn't it be great to go back to high school? No. And but she longs for circumstances when she was beautiful and popular, and she's looking for circumstances. And I'm not. Those circumstances, yeah, they were kind of nice to have health and all that, but really, you went to a party and they served it in your drinks in a red Solo cup. It was so original, and somebody got drunk and in the bushes, and no, I wouldn't want to go back to that. That it was not even fun back then. I just thought it was. Are your best days behind you, or are you getting renewed more and more each day, more and more joyful? And here's the kicker. My friend's wife, I actually have to say, she's bitter. She's bitter because she's looking for circumstances to be the source of her happiness. And the older you get, the circumstances don't look good. But joy is not based on your circumstances. Joy is just something inside you that is growing. And even when I was a teenager, when we were in the car driving, my mother used to make us on long trips pray the rosary. And this sounds strange, but I'm just a very cynical person. When we would start with the joyful mysteries, even as a teenager, I realized, what's joyful about the joyful mysteries? Like, Mary could be stoned to death. Jesus is born in absolute poverty, and there's a sociopath who's trying to kill him. You're like, what's so joyful about that? And that's when I realized, oh, that's the point. That the worst things in life could be against you, and it doesn't touch your joy. Day by day, our outside is wasting away, but inside, we are getting renewed. The joy and tragedy can go hand in hand. Joy and sickness, joy and just days away from dying can go hand in hand. You can become even more joyful, even though everything looks horrible. Or look at the first reading. John is in prison. He's being tortured and he's in prison. And Jesus asks, what do you see? Because what he asked was, are you the one who is to come? And he says, what do you see? And Jesus says, where he's told, the blind can see, the lame walk. And that's from the first reading. And that's a prophecy about when the Messiah comes. And it's a great prophecy because it's about this. With all the darkness and injustice and cruelty in the world, God is going, when the Messiah comes, he's going to have vengeance on the darkness of the world. But here's the twist. Do you know what the vengeance is going to look like? It's going to look like people with great joy. It's going to look like people who are healed, people who are encouraged, people who stand up for justice. Like I love the vengeance of God in the world is going to be creating a people of great joy. Isn't that a great reading? What does the vengeance of God look like? Joyful people, where you can't beat it out of them. I love that. So John, when he's in prison, he's asked, well, what do you see? And in prison, what does he see? He sees joy blooming. Not saying that there isn't a lot of darkness in the world, but on Gaudete Sunday, we say joy is simply a part of us. We are God's vengeance on the world. And when I say vengeance, I know it's an odd thing. I don't mean like, no offense, I hate the evangelicals' theology of the rapture, which is really not in the Bible, that when Christ comes, you better look busy because he's in a bad mood. Or, no offense to Mormons, but have you read the Book of Mormon? When Jesus is resurrected, he comes to North America, to the Indians, and what does he start to do but start to destroy cities? That doesn't look like joy. God's vengeance is going to be a people who are committed to love and joy and justice and courage. That's God's vengeance on the darkness of the world, not more anger and terrorism. Actually, the opposite. A joy that can't be extinguished by circumstances. So on Gaudete Sunday, we light the pink candles. So if you have Advent wreaths at home, this is when you light the pink candle. And the pink candle symbolizes joy. That's what pink symbolizes. And this very nice family here at Holy Apostles found out I didn't have a pink vestment, so they bought me one. Now, don't I look like joy? In fact, Marge, who's sleeping during my homily, at 19, she's actually really very funny, and she's on her walker. She did this last year because I had it last year. She's walking on her walker by me, and she stops, and Marge always has a comment, and she looks at me and she says, "That pink hurts my eyes." So, but it symbolizes that we're supposed to be a people that bring joy into the world. And really, how dare somebody call themselves a Christian and not be a source of joy in the world? And I always have to think, what, were they baptized in vinegar? Like, we're supposed to be the source of joy in the world. And the older you get, just the more serious problems are. And the twist is this. I find this amazing. On this study, they found out that older people are happier than younger people. Why would that make sense? You have more health problems, fixed incomes. If you have children and grandchildren, you simply start to worry more and more about them. And yet, they're more joyful, even though they're losing everything. Half a life, if you're serious, half a life is loss and pain. Why shouldn't we be the people immersed in Christ that we radiate joy? And the idea is this, is that with joy burning inside us, like John the Baptist, we see the world differently. We can see the presence of Christ coming in new form. We know, like Javier's mother, who's just days away from passing, she knows where joy is hidden. Kathleen, with every decade that passed, this is the best time ever. She knows where joy is hidden. We're supposed to be the people who know where joy is hidden. And for Sadie Bird, who's about to be baptized in the presence of Christ, I hope she joins us and that her life, the older and older it gets, I hope her parents and godparents teach her how to be this radiant light of joy and love in the world. That's God's vengeance. So if you still want to get baptized, do you want to come up here with your daughter? And godparents, and let us stand and pray for this child.